Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom, Marjorie.
Okay, can you hear? Oh, that's better. That's better. Please take your seats so we can get started. It's great to be on the Bima again at Kol Ami. It's been a while for me, and it's great to see and to welcome my friends Jody and Jason Holtz and their son Ezra, and I bet Asher is hiding somewhere. So welcome back. So great to see you. So let's end the year with a a song of joy, a song of welcome. Shiru Ladonai on page 13 of Mishkan Tefillah. Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai Baruch Hu Shemo, Basru miyom layom Yeshuato, Shiru Ladonai Baruch Hu Shemo, Basru miyom layom Yeshuato, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz.
So I also want to welcome those who are joining us remotely. A reminder to all of you that if you have a name for our Mishaberak list or a Kaddish list, you can send that to JJ in the comments section or on Zoom, whatever platform you're on. And welcome to all of you joining us on this Shabbat. We are going to be using Mishkan Tefillah tonight, and we invite Ruth Ryder, who will be lighting our candles this evening. And you can turn to page 2 and 3.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Rabbi, help.
Well, there are two. Hold on a sec. Hold on. Oh, that went out. Okay. You touched it and it went out. Thank you, sir. It just, yeah, let's trade. I'm going to stay right here and make sure.
Thank you. You're pretty good at that.
Herb was even better.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
By our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen. Our service continues on page 10 with the singing of Yedid Nefesh.
Yedid Nefesh Avarachaman Mishal Avdach Eretz Anach Yeretz Avdach Kemawayam Yishtachaveh El Mol Hadarach Yeravlah Yedidecha Minofet Suf Bechotam Yadadai dai 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 Yadadai dai 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 Yadadai dai 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 Yadadai dai 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 Yadadai dai 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 Yadadai dai 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 Yadadai dai 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 Yadadai dai 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 Yadadai dai 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 Yadadai dai 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 Yadadai dai 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 Yadadai dai 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 dai
We continue on page 18. You know, oftentimes we come into this sanctuary and we desire at the end of the week some rest, some respite from the difficulties and the obstacles that we've faced all week, and we just want to relax and hear beautiful music, an inspiring sermon, maybe, and not think about anything else. But one of the more important, one of the equally important aspects of being a religious individual is to understand that God is part of your very being, helping you to rest on a day like Shabbat, but also inspiring you to give you the strength and the power that you need to be resilient and persistent and to overcome obstacles. So we read Psalm 29 together on page 18 to remind us that even when we're desiring respite, that if we need to, we can call upon the force of God within us to overpower what is ahead. Together, ascribe to Adonai, O divine beings, ascribe to Adonai glory and strength, ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name, bow down to Adonai majestic in holiness. The voice of Adonai is over the waters, the God of glory thunders, Adonai over the mighty waters. The voice of Adonai is power. The voice of Adonai is majesty. The voice of Adonai breaks cedars. Adonai shatters the cedars of Lebanon. God makes Lebanon skip like a calf, Syrian like a young wild ox. We continue with Lecha Dodi on page 20.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu el miuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, L'shem tiferet litila. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi בני שבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה, לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך ומי אורי, אורי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
We rise and face the opening to the sanctuary as we welcome the Shabbat bride, singing the final verse.
Oh, yeh b'shalom, ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, tov emunei am segula, b'wichala, b'wichala, lecha dodi, lecha dodi לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, lecha dodi לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Please be seated. We continue on page 25. And Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran with fear and unsurety about whether the blessing that his father gave him would, he could really live up to all the expectations that his family had for him, and of fear that his brother would kill him. And he came to a place to rest for the night, to get respite for the night. And he had a dream, and then he stated something that perhaps we ought to state every time we're in this particular sanctuary. At the bottom, waking from his sleep, Jacob said, "Truly, Adonai is in this place, and I did not know it." He was awestruck and said, "How inspiring is this place? This is none other than the sanctuary of God, the gate of heaven." We continue with the Kaddish on page 26.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועלמא דברה חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכנו יומך, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבם מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן ועלמה, והימרו Amen. We rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach
We continue together in the Hebrew on the next page. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim v'chochma potech sharim u'bitbuna mishaneh itim u'machalif et hazmanim u'misader et hakochavim b'mishmorateim barakia kirtzono orei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshek v'choshek mipnei or Umavir yom uvevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, El Chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Page 32. Together, everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We'll rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we'll reflect on them, and they are the life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 34.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען נזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה, זה לי נאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גא ישראל.
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let there be love.
Lehamidenu makenu lechayim.
Let there be peace. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Uvarus, uvarus aleinu, uvarus aleinu, suka, shalomecha, v'toganinu, me'etzatava,
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let there be love. Let there be peace. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Eternal good, others walk with good companions to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts. Let there be love. Let us wake on in peace. Let us rise up to life and to light and to confidence.
Let there be love.
Let there be peace. Let there be light and love.
I was with friends earlier this week, and I don't know how we got on the subject, but Mazel Tov came up for whatever reason. And fortunately, the person I was speaking to is a pretty good Hebrew scholar, more than myself. And he said, why did you say that? You know, because it's a reference for those who know the Hebrew to the stars, the luck of the stars. And Jews don't normally believe in luck. He said, rather, the word mazel may come from a different word, and I think he said the root was Hey Zion Lamed. I'm sure Rabbi Holtz will check this for me later. But it comes from a line from Proverbs and a number of places in the Bible where we have a description of flow of dew upon the grass. So may your words flow, that the Hebrew word doesn't mean luck, but actually means flow. And so it's a good flow. May something flow well. So what is it that flows well when you buy a new car, when you get a piece of art, when you buy a house or something like that and someone says, Mazel Tov. So his thought was, may there be goodness that flows from this new acquisition of yours. That it may be for good, not just for yourself and your family or other people you touch when you drive your car by, when you offer charity to someone on the street in that new car of yours or whatever it may be. May your goodness flow. And maybe that's something we should think about as we celebrate Shabbat on this evening. So as we sing Yismechu on probably page 44, let's think about how we can make our goodness flow in the coming weeks and in the coming new year.
Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. מקדשי שבי שבת שבת כולם ישבעו ויתענגו מטובך שבת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת חמדת ימים חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג.
We rise for the Amidah on page 46.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו ואהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידה מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. We continue silently through page 62, either standing or sitting.
Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'achol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'achol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'achol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'achol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'achol Yisrael. Ve'imeru Amen.
At this time in our service, we offer a special prayer of healing of body, soul, and spirit. For those who are joining us remotely, please send the names of your loved ones for whom you wish our community to offer these prayers of healing at this time. We have added this week certain individuals in our family, Jean Powell, who is in the hospital right now, and we've been reaching out to members of her family and to Stan's family for support and for prayer at this time. We also include in our thoughts and prayers Joan Armstrong. Keith Trantow was just brought into the emergency room this afternoon and is waiting for his diagnosis. Jerry Parker, and no one online. If there is anyone in our sanctuary who has names of loved ones you wish to offer, Judy? Thank you. Andy? Yeah, thank you very much. Sherry? Thank you. Thank you. Herb? Thank you. Chris? Thank you. Alan? Thank you. Paul? Thank you. Ruth? So who is it? Okay, thank you for letting us know. Yeah, thank you. We'll reach out to her. And again, if there's anyone in our community, either online or here in the sanctuary, who you feel that we can assist with prayers or accompany our clergy in person, please let us know. Also, Joyce Sattinger was in the hospital, and now she's in hospice care right now. So the Mishnah Barak prayer can be found on page 253. Page 253. If it is your practice to please rise, you may do so.
Mishabera avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishabera imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Please be seated. So this week in our Torah, we continue my personal struggle with a story of sibling rivalry and what possibly can be perceived as a basic condition of human life, and that according to one study at Ben Gurion University, they discovered that sibling rivalry among experts is a root for human conflict that occurs outside of the family. So I guess if you're the only child in a family, you're okay. That's all right. But the basic condition of human life is that of relationships, and that we're involved in small groups and great groups. And it's tragic to read this story week after week or year after year of Jacob and his sons having this conflict that leads to terrible results. And ultimately the rabbis go, oh, it's actually okay because it led to the saving of the Jewish people, and and the great Passover story and so on and so forth. But still, it is so heart-rendering for me after 4 decades of rabbinical work to see as one of our classic stories, children that are just not getting along. And there are some who want to take a look at the story and say, hey, this represents the Jewish people as a whole. Take a look at Joseph, who is the microcosm of the way perhaps Jews have been treated for the last 2,000 years. He represents the condition of Jews for our entire knowledge of Judaism. Brothers are older and stronger. We've always lived in places where we've been the weakest group within any society. They resent his presence within their group, as others have resented us in their communities. Whether he did anything or not, he is seen as a troublemaker. And there's a desire to get rid of him, and so a story is concocted to appease Dad. And of course, we can go back to the New Testament and see a story that is used as the foundation of anti-Semitism generation after generation after generation to approve the conduct of people's treatments of us. And yet, I think more important than seeing it as a microcosm of who we are as a people and our history and how we've overcome and become resilient and we're able to be successful and victorious in our little ways, is what's going on in this family, I think, should impact us in a very personal way. So here the brothers come down into Egypt in order to save the family, to bring food back to their starving family. And they come face to face with a stranger in a strange land. They don't recognize Joseph, but Joseph recognizes them. And it begs the question, if they can't recognize him then, did they even recognize him before? Were they able to truly see him as a brother, as a human being when he was in their midst? They probably never really saw who he was at that time. So our story tells us in chapter 37, now Israel, Jacob, loved Joseph best of all his sons. Who tells us that? The narrator tells us that. Does Jacob say that? No. The narrator tells us that. And so, is it true? Who is the narrator that's telling us this story? How do his brothers know, actually, that he is the favorite? Are they listening to the narrator in the scripture? How do they know? Maybe it's just in their thoughts that they know. And think about us. You know, the way we think about the world is in our thoughts. We create stories about what reality is. Is it true? Not always. So how do we know this is really true, that Jacob loved Joseph most of all? Did they ask Joseph? Did they ask their father? That's another part of this story. It's so troubling for me. No one's talking to each other. They're just acting. And at this moment in chapter 42 in our Torah portion, we read, when Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but acted like a stranger toward them and spoke harshly toward them. So what's going on now? You know, why is he pretending not to recognize them? Is he afraid of something? Does he want to punish them? We have no idea. And in this last part this week, when Joseph says, oh, I'm going to take Benjamin to stay with me, you all can go free. Judah pleads the case for the sake of their father. And he says, his own life, Benjamin's own life, is bound up with Dad's. Kanafsho kashura v'nafsho. It's interesting. His soul is bound up with his soul. Benjamin's soul is bound up with Dad's soul. And it uses the Hebrew word, the verb, this bound up, kuf shin resh, which means to be bound, to make a connection. What an interesting argument. Why didn't Judah make that argument for Joseph? When they almost destroyed their father because the youngest child, Joseph at the time, certainly must have been bound up with the soul of his father, and yet they threw him into a pit and they sold him into slavery. Is there a revelation? Was there an evolution? Did Judah learn something from this experience? Now we're going to take we're going to take Jacob into consideration, Dad into consideration. We learned something. When we did this to our youngest brother, years ago, it tore Dad apart. It's going to happen again. Now we feel sensitive toward Dad, where before we could care less what Dad's feelings were. So what's happening? Judah is trying to convey the connection between his father and the youngest son. The relationship the brothers were tired of and reacted against with Joseph. Now Jacob favors Benjamin, where before he favored Joseph. Or now Judah is saying, that Benjamin is the favored one. So on the one hand, I suppose the Torah is recognizing the bond that we really hope for between a parent and a child. Our souls should be bound up with each other. Our sons and daughters, should be bound up into our souls and our souls with them. And that's what we're to recognize in this story, perhaps. But only we as the reader critique and criticize the relationships that we are witnessing that are manifested through the many mistakes and the missteps and ultimately the harm and the separation that occurs in this terrible story that we read year after year. So what's the solution? A lot of people say that, this was so unfair of Jacob, to love one child more than another. Maybe that's not what's going on after all. The American Academy of Pediatrics suggests something very different. Suggests that each child is different. And it's not about treating each child the same or equally. And my father had to explain this to one of my siblings, where one of my siblings was concerned that this is going to be so vague, and I apologize, and I know one of my sisters is watching tonight. So anyway, but it's certainly not about her. So one of my siblings complained to my dad that one of my siblings was getting more money than the other three were getting. That financially that this one child was benefiting more. And my dad, to his credit, who I always thought was the wisest man in the room, he said, it's not about being equal. It's about being fair. It's not about being equal. It's about being fair. So certainly parents should treat their children differently if they require a different kind of attention. And another child in that relationship may think, this child's getting more attention. Well, maybe that child needs more attention because they're different and special in a different way. And it's not about playing favorites, but it's a way of showing appreciation that each of our children are different. Perhaps the brothers didn't get that. What was most missing from this story in our scripture was not just the frailty of human relationships that we see going on here, the mistakes that are made by those in power and those who are victimized by those failures by those who are powerful. What is missing are the stories that are told and listened to. No one's talking to each other. There used to be a vice president of Facebook, Arturo Becerra, and he was in charge of the social networking aspect of Facebook. He felt that Facebook could be this amazing network for understanding and compassion, and he was responsible for customer relations. The only problem was he had to tend to 900 million users on Facebook, and every week there would be millions of complaints that his department would get. Now, it was interesting. A third of the complaints were engineering problems, and he would take those, give it to the engineers, and they would fix the engineering problem. But 2/3 of the problems had to do with conflict, like we have in our story. So some people would write in and say, oh, this picture that was posted of me, I don't like it. I don't want pictures of my children here on Facebook. You've got to take them down. I don't want that. This makes me look too fat. And his department would respond, we're sorry. We can only take down the lewd, the lascivious, the illegal pictures, those that are pirated, those we take down. We don't have a policy for pictures of you that look too fat. So he decided that maybe the Facebook users need to talk to each other. And his department would offer, why don't you talk to the person who posted that picture? Oh, I can't. I can't talk to that person. And so he thought, okay, well, maybe there's a way that you can express your feelings to the other person without actually talking to them. And so what he did was he posted for Facebook, why don't you use an emoticon? A smiley face, an angry face, a loving face or something like that, and send that. And what he discovered was, the problem is that most of the people couldn't figure out what their emotions were, why they were so mad about these pictures at all. And it was suggested that you speak to the person who posted it. Why don't you tell them how you feel and what you saw and how you felt when you saw this? Did it make you unsafe or angry or betrayed? Why don't you tell that to the people? People didn't know exactly what they were feeling. The emoticons didn't work. And the suggestion was that, look at the picture, ask your friend, what was your reason for putting it on? Instead of complaining, what's your reason for putting it on? Oh, I thought you'd like to see a picture of yourself, or you'd like to see a picture of your children that you didn't know about. And then the problem started to get resolved when they asked the other person, why did you post this? So he started to teach conflict resolution to 900 million people. So what about the hate we read in the story of these brothers toward Joseph? Did Joseph did Joseph at the moment in our Torah portion this week, did he hate his brothers so he was going to torture them here in our Torah portion? James Baldwin wrote something interesting regarding this. He said, one of the reasons that people cling to their hate and fear so stubbornly is that they sense once that hate is gone, they'll have to be forced to deal with their own pain. Your anger, your hate, has nothing to do with the other person. If you think about it, has nothing to do with the person who made you angry. Something inside of you is missing, and so you have to project anger instead of thinking about what's going on inside of me. We project this on communism. We project this on the Republicans. We project this on the Democrats and the migrants. But we can't face what's going on in ourselves. But it's easier to point the finger. The question is, when are we going to be able to be mindful of our own emotions, insecurities, and frailties that we all have? Finally, we might be able to say what Joseph says this week in our story. I am your brother, Joseph. And if I were to continue his speech, which is not in the scripture, perhaps he was saying this. I am your brother, Joseph. Allow my soul to finally be connected to your soul, the way family souls ought to be connected and intertwined. You tell me your story. I will listen without making judgment, and perhaps you will listen to mine. Perhaps then we will understand that we never have to be the same. You are special, I am special, and we can approach each other differently and with great respect. I want to close my remarks with an instruction that one federal judge, when he first came to sit on the bench, he was offered a seat on the bench. He said, oh, I know how to sit, so I'll sit on a bench. But he was a meditator, like some of us are in our community. And he offered this as his instructions every time to his jury. So listen. I want you to listen to what will be presented in this jury, in this courtroom, with total attention. You may find it helpful. to sit in a posture that embodies dignity and presence and stay in touch with the feeling of your breath moving in and out as you listen to the evidence. Be aware of your mind, desiring to jump to conclusions before all the evidence has been presented and the final arguments are made. As best as you can, try to suspend judgment and witness with your full being what is being presented in the courtroom moment by moment. And if you find your attention wandering, you can always bring it back to your breathing or what you are hearing over and over again. And when the presentation of the evidence is complete, then it will be your turn to deliberate as a jury and come to a decision, and not before. This is within our capacity to do this. To sit up with dignity, listen attentively, without judging, without critiquing, and maybe we'll hear a story we didn't understand before. Our thoughts are what's killing us. It was the thoughts of the brothers that created this destructive behavior to throw Joseph into a pit and to tell their father stories. Their thoughts that they made up in their mind that something was wrong in their relationship. They didn't talk to Joseph and they didn't talk to their father. They didn't listen to their stories and come up with something different. Our thoughts can be very destructive. Mark Twain said it the best. Most of my life was just awful, and most of that never really happened. Amen. We invite Seth Ruskin to deliver our announcements for this week.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom. I want to welcome all who have joined us here tonight, both in person and online. Thank you to Rabbi Thomas Lochheim and Cantor Janice Cohen and Marjorie Hochberg for leading us in services this evening. I would like to thank Chris Tackett on the piano and our tech team, JJ and Will, in the back. Thank you to Ruth Ryder for lighting our Shabbat candles, and I'd also like to welcome Rabbi Jason Holtz and family to services. And now for a few brief announcements. Tomorrow, Torah study will take place at 8:30, followed by Shabbat services at 10. And a big surprise, the office will be closed on Monday in recognition of New Year's. We'll reopen on Tuesday. Join us next week, January 6th, for our new Shabbat light. Beginning with a nosh at 5:30 and services at 6. Please register online. The service will include music from our Kolami band. There will also be a lay-led traditional service beginning at 6:30. Religious school will be back in session on January 8th. Please remember to return your books to the card in the back of the sanctuary at the end. See our website and all the emails that are sent to stay current on all things that are happening at Kolami. On behalf of the Kolami clergy, staff, and board of trustees, please stay safe and healthy. Join us for an oneg after, that way, my left, your right, and have a happy new year and a Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. So as we do every week, I'd love to hear at least 3 brief stories of some Shekianu moment, something wonderful that happened to you this week that you would like to share with the rest of us. And I'll check here. Oh, wait, no, that's JJ writing. Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else have something? Yes, Ruth. Yeah, but it's not snowing in California. But that's wonderful that they are here with you. Thank you for sharing that. 2 more. Who else have a Shekianu moment from this week? Something wonderful.
We went to San Francisco 2 weeks ago, and I saw my family, and I was so happy to see them, and they were so happy to see each other. It was a wonderful experience.
Okay, the most important thing, you went to San Francisco, saw your family, you love seeing each other. Did your son cook for you?
No, not this time.
Ah, he's a brilliant chef, and he didn't cook for mom. One last one. Yes.
Yay.
Yeah, very good. Nice to come from college.
So let's sing a little Shehechianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen.
We rise for the Aleinu found on page 282. Page 282. Those who are joining us remotely, remember to send names in for Kaddish.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tein gedula liotzer reshit, shelo asanu kigoyei haratzot, v'lo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamunam, v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu, v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Please be seated as we take a few moments of reflection before the reading of the Kaddish. As is our practice, for those who have come to the sanctuary to say Kaddish for a loved one, if you so wish, you can come forward and take a stone and place it on your hand, symbolically feeling the weight and impact of that person's life on your life as you reflect on saying this prayer of praise for them.
20 years since my husband is gone.
Oh my goodness.
And today was
Here, you can put it right here. When you hear the name of your loved one mentioned, we ask if you are able to please rise. Those who died this past week, and there will be a memorial and funeral for them, both on Sunday. Ron Feller, a friend of our community, died earlier this week, and one of his celebrations of life will be on Sunday. Led by by Karen Heller and Joel Heller. And Edith Sobel the wife of Charles Sobel, father of Larry Sobel, Sandy Derman, and Ruth Sobel, grandmother of 5 grandchildren and 1 great grandson. Edith died just a couple days ago. Her funeral will be in New Jersey on Sunday. We recall those who died within the past 30 days: Dr. Frank I. Marcus, Lori Rosenblum Brown, Stephen M. Joseph, Douglas Meese, Michael McConnell, Gene Spencer, Rabbi Richard Safran, Aline Kaminsky-Crum, and Marty Derrickson. And we link their names with those who died at this season in years past: Dorothy Abramson, Eleanor R. Arden, Harry Bedrick, Samuel Bober, Rosella R. Bonham, Richard Brown, Kay Costin, Jerome Dutcher, Jacob Elpern, Myrna Feld, Molly Goodman Finkelstein, Jacob Fleischer, Sam Greenberg, Jane Heimerdinger, Clarence Henderson, Rose Hirsch, Howard Jacobs, Maurice Joseph Jacobson, Martin Kalish, Sam Coppell, Lillian Coppelli, Rose Kuliko, Carol Letterman, Saul Letterman, Rachel Leibovitz, Joseph Levin, Joseph Levy, William S. Lockheim Sr., Ada Marks, Barbara Metcalf, Esther Mintz, Robert Moore, Doris Rosenkrantz, Lowell Rothschild, Solomon Sanders, Isidore Sarver, Shepard Schimmel, Abraham Schulman, Herbert Schwager, Gertrude Score, Marvin Semiloff, Gertrude Silver, Suzanne Tarloff Sloman, Julia Sturman, Morris Thickall, Dora Tompkins, Ida Tamarkin Kesselman, Libby Vernick, Robert Wall, Rebecca Winkler, and from our friends who are watching online, Ted Schultz. For those, if there are those among us who are saying Kaddish for a loved one and their name was not mentioned, if you would rise and mention those names at this time. Thank you. And you can remain standing. If you've mentioned those names, you can remain standing. Anyone else? So we ask our loved ones to join these loved ones for the Kaddish, which is found on page 294. Page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Bialma divra chirutei v'yamlik malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'yamru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah brichu le'elom min kol birkata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran b'yalma v'yamru Amen. Yehi shlomo Rabbah min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yamru Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru Amen.
Ve'imru, 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 Amen. Ve'imru, 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 Amen. And our closing song in honor of the season, page 321. Adon olam asher malach teterem kol yitzir nivra leit nasa becheso kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado nivra Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsha, be'ahava u'ratzon, hinchilanu, zikaron lemase, v'reishit, ki hu yom techila, למקראי קודש, זכר לציון מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן. לחיים.
L'chaim.
You're going to
Go
make me
this
do
way.
it.
Yeah. I love hearing you sing.
Oh, it's great. Oops. Get it. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We'll
Shabbat
see you
Shalom.
that
B'teva.
way.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Tom.
much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Janine.